Good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Tom Ginn, Elevate Your Profits. We will be right back. Tom Ginn, Elevate Your Profits. My partner in crime, Mark Gassard, won't be here tonight. He's off with his family, enjoying getting ready for the holiday, and he'll be back 2 weeks from today. But tonight I'm really excited to talk about Elevate Your Profits. What we're about is just strictly, inspiring those individuals that have desire maybe to become an entrepreneur, those that are solopreneurs or entrepreneurs now. Bring in guests, bring new levels of awareness, what it takes to win and succeed, being in business for yourself. Not being in business for yourself is being in business for yourself is not for everybody. Let me rephrase that. But it's all about helping people, bringing people different levels of awareness, what it takes to win in business. So tonight, I'm really excited to bring a guest on that we've had on in the past, and we're just going to dialogue a little bit about, I'll let my guest, Wes Wyatt, lead that conversation, and we're just going to banter around tonight and share our thoughts, what it takes to win. And with that all said, I'm going to bring in Wes. You ready, bud? There he is.
That was easy for you to say, Tom. You got a little hung up there for a second.
Oh yeah, but what can I say? That's how I
You're all verklempt or something, like you got a big guest on tonight. I know that's why Mark didn't come. He just didn't. He's like, I don't come for the C-list talent.
Well, Wes, thanks for being here tonight, joining us. And what I always like to do is just share a little bit of, for those that might be watching for the first time, just share a little bit about yourself, your background. And then we'll just sort of take it from there. Your journey to where you are today.
Well, I live in New Bremen, Ohio, which is a little village over here in Ohio that kind of looks like a Norman Rockwell picture you could step into. We have the Miami-Erie Canal that comes through here, so it's kind of very historic and picturesque, if you will. So I live here with my wife and my two kids. Both are now graduated from high school, which is awesome. So Julianne and I are about that close to being empty nesters. Once college is all done, they're going fairly locally, so they're probably going to live at home. And then I work at home. This is my infamous war room, and do several podcasts behind the scenes. I'm having a real hard time right now. I have my hands down underneath the desk, and normally I'm up, pressing everything because I'm the guy behind the scenes for things like the penalty box and building wins with my buddy Randy Chafee, and I do one that's called Warehouse Safety Tips. Just hit 5,000 listens on that one, and 2.5 years of podcasting in a row every week. So, but that's what I do. That's me. I'm amateur magician, avid reader, and just literal and figuratively a big geek.
The geek, huh?
Big geek.
What do you mean, like the technique? I mean, the technology and the toys and all that, is that type of thing? Because I know I've seen some of your things shown from the aerial and down on top of what you're doing. I know you got big plans when you relocate or remove to build a bigger studio on that. So you like all the toys?
I do. And I'll point you to something here, Tom, just so you can see. If you look at the walls, I've got Batman toys and just all sorts of, just overall toys. And one of the things that you're talking about when we get to a new location, that'll probably be three to 5 years from now. I'm just going to put together an office that, instead of having all of the tchotchke stuff and the kind of stuff you see behind me and whatnot, I'm going to make digital frames that essentially are the same concept as like Bill Gates' house. When you walk in, it'll recognize you first and foremost with cameras, but then the art will start to change. So I can have it just general stuff when I'm not in the room, but if I walk in the room, it'll change. Everything will change. The room will be smart. So the lighting, the heat, the way, way I like it cooled, and everything. And then when I'm recording, I'll be able to literally just say one command into the speakers and change everything to where a recording light will go on outside my door. The lighting will change. All the things will mute that need to mute, but it'll all be automatic. So lots and lots of big plans for the War Room, version 2, if you will.
That sounds like a lot of fun. I remember, just when I used to work for a company out of Colorado Springs, the president of the company, I went to his home, and he was a techie guy. I mean, this was back in the late 90s, early 2000. And when he'd wake up at night, he'd get a bit lights would light up the floor. And when he walked down every step, the steps would light up. So he was all techie back then, and that blew me away. So that's probably low tech compared today. So
yeah, the stuff that you can do today is not only affordable now. That's one of the things that used to be like, when I heard that thing about Bill Gates's house, I mean, the technology obviously existed because he had it, but I mean, to do it now, all you really need is like a little Raspberry Pi processor, stick it on the back of a old TV, and the next thing you know, you do a couple programs, and boom, you have a digital frame, and it can do things like move from one frame to the other. So if you have motion, like a dragon's breath blowing fire, it will actually go from one monitor to the next monitor to the next monitor, and then finish, and then that picture will change again, and so you can do just amazing things you could never do back in the day with everything from opening and closing blinds to the music. Instead of having an alarm go off, you can literally have your blinds go up, music start playing. You can have a mix that starts playing in the bathroom for you that is your pump up music. And for you and I, our commute is, for me, it's about 22 steps. I don't know what yours is, so I don't
across the house.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't need much of a pump up, but I certainly couldn't get through a whole song. But it's just one of those things that I love technology, and I really can't imagine with the stuff that's available now what it can be. A couple of years from now, I'm really going to trick our house out into having all the cool little bells and whistles and security and outdoor lights. And one of the things I'm really excited about is something kind of silly, and that is I'd like to make one of those Christmas displays one of these years. Not anything crazy, just one that you control with the computer to music and whatnot. I think that'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah, we have in our community here, there's a part of a neighborhood that does that thing. And the big one is a huge house. And for years, it's all computerized, and all the different things come on at different times with different music. It draws thousands of people through, it's like a park type thing. But yeah, so that's kind of cool what you can do with technology. But about yourself, share your journey. I love your terminology. I'm psychologically unemployable. I resonate with that. I've been in business pretty much for myself since 1983, except for a few little bouts working for somebody else. But share your story and where you're at today and what's your purpose and why.
Yeah, my Wes Wyatt with a Y. Do you know Brian Wagner? Brian with one eye, Wagner.
Oh yes.
Yeah. When I used to train back and forth with him on video stuff, I told him that was one of the coolest kind of taglines I've ever heard. I thought using the blind spots and vision blockers and all the things that he has. I thought that was a way to turn a negative into a gigantic positive with his marketing. But I told him that if he was going to be Brian with one eye, I was going to be Wes Wyatt with a Y, W and W, or Y and WHY, because I do have a Y, and I think that probably the journey began with just kind of getting a feeling of what was possible beyond working at a factory or even just a profession. I told you offline that way back in the day, I got a little bit of a taste of marketing outside of a normal job with the company Excel, selling phone cards, because back in the day you didn't have free phones and you couldn't dial long distance and the things that you do now. Everything costs, and living in small towns like I do, we only had wherever we were, which was locally, probably 300-400 people. Anything outside of that was long distance. So the phone card just seemed like this was in 1986. Phone card just seemed like something that would be very applicable and needed, and it was. I sold bunches and bunches of them, so I got that entrepreneurial bug early. I actually got it way before that, and I'll tell you, I had a paper route, like anybody else. But before the paper route, I had the worst paper route of all time. And Tom, you are in the age bracket where you might remember this. There used to be a magazine out there called Grit. Do you remember Grit magazine?
No. What was its theme? What was it about? Was it a
Grit magazine? If Hee Haw made a magazine, Grit would probably be its cousin. It was kind of countryish, but not. If you put Hee Haw and I only say Hee Haw because it always had like a yawlsy, kind of a feel to it. But if you took like a Norman Rockwell type, it's two Norman Rockwell references, but a Norman Rockwell feel and like gosh, I don't know, just something. Never an article about a place where you knew is the best way I can say it. Like you'd think if you lived in the Midwest, you'd know these places, but it just was a nonsense magazine. It always had like a real Holmesy person on it, like I don't know, Grandpa Jones from Hee Haw or something like that. But the reason I bring it up is if you sold these magazines, you could get things like a Johnny Unitas football and x-ray glasses, and you've seen the thing, sell it. I got that silly thing, and I thought, there's 300 people in this town. I could probably do 50 of these things. So I ordered 50. I sold 2. I sold one to my mom who had to buy it, and one to one of my friend's dads who was dumb enough to do Grit when he was a kid. I think it was a pity buy. Everybody else was like, they would look at it like, what is this? And you try to explain it. And it, like I said, it wasn't regional. It wasn't local. It never had anything to do with your area, but it was always had these stories. It's kind of like a big Reader's Digest, but they sent me grits for, it must've been 3 or 4 years and I never paid them. You think the Columbia House thing with the tapes and the CDs was a ripoff for people. They sent me magazines for. I had magazines piled up in a room that I looked like a hoarder, and I was just always kept them because I was worried, they were going to come and like try to confiscate money, and I was going to tell them, listen, I've canceled this thing 100 times. You keep sending them, So, but yeah, that's where I initially got the biggest entrepreneurial bug, and even when I failed miserably my first time with it, I still wanted more, so that led, like I said, to the real paper route with local news, and then to Excel, and since then, Tom, that was 1987, and what is that, 35 years now. So I've done so many jobs since then that it's sad and funny how many jobs I've had.
Wonderful. Thanks for sharing. We've got Shamiko Cole on. Do you know Shamiko?
I don't. How you doing, Shamiko?
She is I was on Rex Sykes' program, and she was running the backstage for the LA Tribune interview. Thanks for joining us, Shamiko. Yeah, something about this hat. One day I just get it in the mail. I have no idea where it came from, who it came from.
That's an awesome present.
Yeah. So somebody said, "Hey, you're a CEO. Send me a cap." So I actually call it Chief Excitement Officer. That's what it stands for me. But they're great, Sharon. And thanks for sharing this out, and thanks for jumping on. I know you wanted to get together with me. Just shoot me a message, and we will chat. But yeah, being in business for yourselves, what was the desire? What was the desire that really caused you to take that step? That's a risky step. It takes courage, and it's challenging. And so what was your why to start that road?
I think it was the hype. I got very, very seduced by that hype. And it was that the idea that you could, back then it was more Amway-ish, the multi-level stuff. I mean, you would get like hijacked, and you just knew that, if you walked into a room and somebody had chairs lined up, that you were in trouble. It was either going to be a timeshare or Amway, and they'd start drawing circles on boards, and most of that stuff didn't faze me. But the circles on the board, as cheesy as it sounds, and as much as it does make stuff look like a pyramid and all that stuff, that was probably the thing that got me, because even though I've since realized that the numbers don't ever work the way that they tell you, and they don't, it's mathematically impossible. It's going to be less or more no matter what, and probably not more, but it just never does that progression that they normally show. But with that said, it shows what was possible, as opposed to, going in and you talk about being psychologically unemployable. Tom, I say this in this kind of a way as I can, because it's one of those things that I feel bad saying this, but I always gave exactly what I was supposed to do, if that makes any sense. I never was, and probably more because just my general nature is to do it right or don't do it. So I was giving everything that they were requesting, but they never got the full Wes. They were always getting a version that was daydreaming, in between the moments of I guess, I shouldn't be thinking of anything else at that time. If I wasn't in that mode, I was probably thinking, man, I could do this, or I could do that, or, I had listened to some cassette that, was telling me about, I'll give you a great example. I was one of the people that bought 900 numbers. And, so I would listen to that cassette until I finally pulled the trigger and bought, I think it was 3. And I bought them for, oh my gosh, like maybe $4,500 all the way back in like, the early 90s. And it was a berserk amount of money to pay for something that you just didn't know, what it was going to do. You had choice of, dating lines and dirty talk lines and all these things, informational lines. And I had no interest in running them. I wanted to resell them. And I sold one and sold it for almost as much as the other 3. And then didn't ever do anything with it, and got the money twice from that and doubled the investment, and never tried to get another one or operated or anything like that, because it kind of died on the vine. If that makes any sense. The industry went real quick and was done. It was back in the days of, do you remember Don Lapre? Tiny classified ads.
Yes. Okay.
Yes. He'd walk on the beach, and he usually had like John Davidson or somebody, would pop on every now and again. But he he's the one that had those 900 numbers, and he's now, I believe, in jail. I think. Oh, you know what? I think he actually may have died. Yeah.
Wow. You know, you made some comments and some good points at the same time. Is that there's, you know, going into business, we have different options. We can take a talent, a skill that we have, and take it to the market. And having a knowledge or a skill doesn't mean you're going to be successful in the business, right? There's a lot behind the scenes that we're not even, a lot of people aren't aware of. Hey, I'm good at fixing cars. I'm going to go open a garage. But, you know, what about the marketing, and what about all the administrative? What about everything that goes on in that business? And I think that's where a lot of people have a going into business, don't realize there's so many moving parts. And, you know, and that's a big capital expense. I've been in business. I've taken the traditional businesses. You know, I had a photography business just to be able to say I'm a photographer. I had about 50 grand worth of equipment just so I can do a shoot with lights and cameras and all. So money is sometimes a big obstacle getting into a business. So then you got franchises. Then you got partnership. You got all different ways to go in business. And the sad fact is that, and this is a reality check, is if you're going to go into business, this is my opinion, find that thing you love to do some research, find somebody who's doing it successfully, pick their brains, work for them, do whatever you can to gain the knowledge, because going into business has a tremendous amount of rewards. The one I love is the total freedom. I didn't earn it day one. It took several years, but by being able to create those enterprises, I've got a lifestyle. People go, how did you get there? 30 hard years of work, you know, one of these type of things.
Right.
Let's get to work, you know? So I hope that showed up on the screen, but you know, network marketing or MLM, it's got a bad rap. At the same time, it probably gives the average person the best opportunity to go into business. They got to apply the same skills as if you go into real estate, insurance, or any of those things. It takes the same type of work and discipline to pick up the phone, do the things you need to do. And unfortunately, a lot of the network marketing have been hype, overstating the opportunity. So you got to find that company that's been around a while. It's not hypey. They're doing it for the right reason, matches with your why. That's where I come from. I've been involved in several, not so much to build companies or build organizations, but I like the product that I could use in my businesses. You know, I'm a financial coach. So I'd find resources in network marketing and had very unique products that I say, hey, you need to look at this. You can save 40% on your healthcare. You know, so I use those as for the product. And of course, I like the fact I get paid residually month after month after a person gets. That's why I went into financial services. I built a block of business that was worth several $100 million in yearly revenue and premium. And I sold that off and I got a nice little check. And that's why I did it. But for years, I had nothing but residual income. So, but what's your, you know, getting back to you. So you started out with getting involved in different network marketing and then.
Yeah, and I've been in lots of network marketing companies. Just as a reminder, I keep these lanyards that are over here on the side of the screen. That's quite literally a small portion of the ones, because for the longest time I didn't keep them. You know, so I've been there, done that, and have the T-shirts and lanyards, you know, to show. And I've been to lots of company, you know, events and you know, done just about everything, you know, within that world. I don't really do a great deal. I have one company that I still do some work with, that, you know, I would call myself active in it, but really don't do a great deal of it anymore. I more than anything coach people to sell themselves and not what they're selling. So because of the different compliance and rules and regulations of most of these companies, it's easier for me to go through and teach everybody how to do stuff than to pigeonhole myself to one company. So it's just easier to say, hey, you know, if I see something and you know, especially one of the places that you're probably more than aware is you're really not supposed to put business stuff on your Facebook profile. You know, they don't really like you doing business from that part of it. They would want you to use a page or a group. And so a lot of people will put something on, and, you know, I'll just go on there and say, hey, you know, I know, you know, number one, you're really not supposed to do that. And if you get hit, you know, you'll be off for however long, you know, they decide to put you in Facebook jail. I said, but the other thing is you're probably breaking your company rule. Yeah, I mean, just because they just don't really care for people doing that. You know, they don't want them using, you know, the name and images and things like that. And then, of course, if you're doing something that's against their rules and regulations on your site, and it looks like they're, you know, kind of locked arms with you, that might be the straw that breaks the camel's back in a lot of those. So it's just one of those things that, it's, like I said, much easier to, you know, like I said, coach people to sell themselves and not what they sell. That's what I do.
Yeah, you know, what you said is so important. You know, I grew up in the day, it was everything was transactional, feature, benefit, you know, close, 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 always be closing, always be closing. And, you know, and that's important. At most, that's where most people are going to business. They don't understand the marketing and the selling side. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Love it. And today, it is about people don't care about what you do and how you do it, really. I mean, if you're an accountant or an insurance person or real estate, why you? What makes you different than everybody else is selling the same product and or service in the marketplace? And Simon Sinek is one of my favorite guys. I'm sure you're quite familiar with him. So will you help people better understand how to sell themselves, position themselves differently in the market?
Yeah, and you know, we have a mutual friend, Randy Chafee, who is the epitome of this. Yeah, I mean, another one is Eric Bam. You know, I mean, if you know, you talk to Eric, he's not shoving, you know, perfect crust pizza liners down your throat. He's shoving his love of pizza, his little girls. You know, you know Eric, and then just through osmosis, you know, while he's talking to you, if you're in the business, he's gonna ask you what you do. They're gonna ask him what he does, and he's gonna tell them that he can keep their pizza from being soggy. And hey, you know, it's just a benefit. You know, you get that awesome product with me. You know, so I love the people that are evangelistic, people that are the, you know, kind of ambassadors, you know, to their company, but yet you don't know what it is that they sell until you seek it out. You know what they bring to the table, you know, and I love that.
Yeah, and I think that's important. That gets in everybody how they deliver, how Tom Ginn talks, how you talk. We're going to resonate with certain types of people based on how we communicate our purpose and our why. And I think that's a beautiful thing. Too many people think, well, I want to get everybody to come to me. I learned a long time ago, that's not the best way to do it. The process of putting yourself out there authentically will draw the right people to you, and then you have a good relationship. People are going to buy you, not the product per se. You know, what's your differentiation? So
yeah, your unique selling proposition is what you need. You know, and if you don't have that, you know, the thing is they can buy it probably off, you know, a lot of places, you know, but you got to tell them the things that you're going to provide. You know, I mean, in the case of Randy, yeah, he's kissing babies and shaking hands, you know, from Michigan to Florida, you know, and doing it on a regular basis. And so I think that the people that try to go up against Randy, you can't see it, but in the other room, there's a picture, and it's a lion with an antelope in the background. And it says that every morning in Africa, a lion wakes up and, has to go and start running to find, the antelope that he wants to eat. And every morning in Africa, an antelope wakes up and knows that, if he needs to get running because the lion wants to eat him. And, the moral of the story is, when the sun comes up, you better be running. And so the whole thing with Randy's one of those guys that he is not going to get beat because he's out there literally up and down, and not only physically, but the Randy hybrid 2.0 that you see, me working behind the scenes on building wins. He's now taken that persona from shaking hands to doing it digitally, and believe me, at advanced ages, and I'm 53, Tom, and I know you and Randy have a little bit on me, but the you can't teach old dogs new tricks, unfortunately, is true. It's something that I don't know if you can't teach them, but they don't want to learn. Is maybe a better way. They're on their way out in many cases, and they're like, that's not what I'm gonna do. So not Randy. Randy was like, Wes, how do I do this video thing? And then you see what it's evolved to. So I think that over 54 here, you wouldn't know it, Shumiko. I'm gonna tell you that right now. You're beautiful. But I think that the ambassadors and the evangelistic people that are out there running, Tom, you said that you feel like yourself and I are going to attract a certain kind of people. The thing that happens just naturally is that it doesn't matter with that whole birds of a feather thing. If you seek out that next plateau, you're going to find those people, because I say this all the time, and that is, if you're trying to learn tennis, you don't get the kid down the street that can barely hit the ball over the net. You want to, get the equivalent of the Williams sisters, to just take you to task. And so when you say people like you and I find people that have like minds, we seek out those mastermind groups and those think tanks of people where we're the dumbest guys in the room. Best place to be. Best place to be. If you're the smartest one in the room, you're in the wrong room. You got to be the dumb guy. And believe me, with this mug, it's not hard. So I always seek them out.
Yeah, and I think that's where you mentioned a couple things. The old dog doesn't want to learn new tricks. When you see the top performers, they're always learning and growing. They're plugging in. They're staying as up to date as they can. What's going, trends that are going on. I mean, we can chase silvery objects. After a while, you learn how to pare those down. Do they match and align with business objectives and those type of things? But those that are growing study other people. They seek it out. They're reading 4 to 5 books a month. They're going to masterminds. They're up in their game just by being in a different group of people. And
you have to.
And having mentors, in life is so important, not just in business. We're talking business here, but I think it applies in everything we do in our personal life, our spiritual life, our business, our social life, and all that. Is getting good counsel is so important. And I didn't realize this. When I grew up in the early days, I'm going to date myself. We had a young lady at 54 and an old dude like me at 72. My first mentor, and I didn't realize how impactful he was until I sat on his yacht off the coast of Florida. And I'd earned an opportunity. I was the number one salesperson in the company. And it wasn't because I was smarter than anybody else or talked better than anybody else. You can hear me talk. I talk the same way today as I did back then. But I sat down with him and he says, Tom, he says, and I still hold on to this. What's your crusade in life? Today, people would say, what's your why, your purpose? What's your crusade? What are you willing to die for in life? Because if you don't have a crusade, you're going to live a life of mediocrity and regrets. And that's has always stuck with me. It's not about, I got the best product in the world, I'm going to sell it and make a lot of money. But why? Why is this? Is it filling a purpose in your life, that crusade? That was the most impactful thing that early on in my career that drove me and helped me make decisions, what companies I would represent, who I'd associate with, those type of things. And so that was my first biggest influencer that put that stamp in that is like a brand, type thing. So I just wanted to share that out there. So
that's awesome. I love it. I think that when you get that feeling of going into a room and walking away with, it just, what feels like a diary, worth of notes. There's just nothing as exciting. I mean, I love it, between asking people directly, being on the stuff like this, which I'm usually typing notes. If I'm on a call, I'll just send myself a little text and stuff. But the feeling of going back and watching these things and hearing them and just kind of getting that new knowledge, between those and like things like Skillshare, YouTube, and Google, there really is no excuse, for having something that makes you better. And then, now with I've got literally a recording studio in front of me, literally. And, it's a situation now where I have my own newspaper, my own, recording studio, my own, broadcaster, radio station, my own video station, so, and my own newspaper, so I'm literally the head cook and bottle washer of every, media that there is, and I can do it all for free. And, so you couple it with, like I said, all that learning. And the next thing you know, if you're not sharing it out, then, you're silly. I mean, because there's so many people out there that either know something or have that passion, like you said, that crusade, or a combination of both would be awesome, that they can go out and turn that into dollars. And then the other thing is, borrowing those people's passion or knowledge and being an affiliate, so, you quite literally just do not have any excuse anymore. If someone says, well, I don't have the time, I promise you, don't ever tell me that, because if I followed you, I would find so much time, that you'd have, and then at that point it'd be, what's your excuse now? The internet's free, your knowledge or borrowing knowledge is free. So what's your excuse now? So that is, now we're at a point where if you hear somebody with their hand out, with a GoFundMe or something where, I mean, there is ways to make money now. You don't have to do that. You just don't. I mean, it's there's no excuse anymore. The barriers and the ceilings have been removed.
Yeah. I always like to ask this too, because I'm a personal development. I'm a Bob Proctor certified coach. My wife as well. I'm John Maxwell. And I've dealt the last 8-10 years into bettering myself so I can make the world better. I mean, we can't improve the world if we don't get better from how we think and how we look at the world, get out of our own way, get our egos out of the way, and those type of things. So who are some of your people that influence you early, books that you read? I like to, because I like having people talk about that, because when you see a thread of success, you start seeing common threads. So what are some of your resources?
Yeah, well, as you can see behind me, a very small portion of books, they go all the way down, on both sides everywhere. And then there's another level, 2 levels above what you see there. If I tilt, you can see they just keep going up and up and up. So reading would be the first one. And I don't read fiction and, nonsense. It's all business books. It always has been. Probably, early on, it was Tony Robbins, with his personal power cassette tapes, not even, DVDs. And wasn't quite as bad as 8-track, but pretty close. But I would watch him late at night. This is back when Tony was, not the Tony Robbins that you know now. He was Anthony Robbins, but probably those tapes and reading the classic stuff, the Think and Grow Rich and that sort of thing. My mom was in sales and did a lot of safety stuff, so she went to the Dale Carnegie stuff. So brought back all the books and tapes from that, and I, being this nerdy, teenager, would listen to them, and I loved it. I learned stuff from it, and actually took stuff away from it, and knew, that there was a bigger way of thinking. But I would say probably recently there'd be people like Miles Monroe. I really like Miles Monroe.
Dr. Miles Monroe.
Dr. Miles, yeah, he passed away a couple of years ago.
Yeah, but he's one of my clients. It's amazing. I coached a young man that used to be a quarterback at Syracuse, and I'm coaching him, and we're talking about goals and those type of things. He says, you got to listen to this Dr. Miles Monroe, The Power of Vision. That you've heard his speech, right?
Yeah.
That is probably, of all the things I've read in helping my clients and helping me even get clear, is not just the why, but your vision, your purpose. And it makes life easeful. It determines who you associate with. Everything falls in line.
Yeah.
Chasing silvery object. Everything, your life flows to what you've created in your mind. And that's, I encourage anybody out there, Google him.
Dr. Miles Monroe. He was from the Bahamas. And, we were just talking about having no excuse because of the information you learn, putting it out there in the form of, all the different medias. And where that comes from is Dr. Monroe. He believed in dying empty. If you go to the graveyard with that information, you're dying with riches, that were supposed to be shared. And so he's without a doubt in the short list. A book that I just absolutely adore is The Slight Edge by Jeff Olson. And he talks about, something that is pretty amazing. And that is, it doesn't seem to make a difference in the act of doing it, but compounded by time makes all the difference in the world. It being whatever it is you're trying to do with slight disciplines or slight errors in judgment. And so if you combine more slight disciplines than you do errors in judgment, theoretically you should be on the rise. And it's that slight edge. So he's definitely in there. I would say probably Gary Vaynerchuk, very, very large, influence. Got to meet him a couple years ago in a very intimate setting that I got stupidly lucky with. But you can't see him, but his books are definitely behind me. Pretty much anything positive. If I'm being honest, you see, Bibles and, JC behind me here. So, that's it. I mean, self improvement, faith, and, unlike Gary, I don't usually curse, and stuff on these broadcasts. I will not tell you that I'm a, angel outside of them. But I do keep things as PC as possible.
Yeah, those are some of those things, and that you'll find that a common denominator through people that are excelling, no matter what their career or their profession. They're reading, they're following speed, they're growing. If you're not growing, you're dying. Plain and simple. It's within our nature to expand and grow. But I think you mentioned something about time, and I think that's where a lot of people use that the first reason not to do something. I haven't got the time. Well, what I found out, less than 5% of people walking this planet have a real clear understanding why they're here. They can't articulate it. But when you can, then time is no longer the issue because you're managing the priorities within your vision, and you'll find you get rid of so much stuff that is eating you away in time and in energy and everything else. And the average person spends 4.5 hours on a device a day. That could be the TV, it could be the computer. Think about how much is that helping you?
Well, it depends on what you're using it for.
Exactly.
That's the thing. I mean, if you're there's that old term in the health industry, garbage in, garbage out. If it's funny that, I mentioned Jeff Olson, and there's a bunch of these Dr. Miles Monroe and people that used to be on this. It was called like the might have been TPN, maybe the People's Network. I might be wrong about that, but it was a satellite dish that had basically all success. Yeah, it was things like Tony Robbins and Miles Monroe and anybody you can imagine, Zig and anybody that was anybody was on there, that day, Les Brown and just all sorts of just success people. And, that is something that if you sat and consumed it, you would grow, you would leave, your mind would do that rubber band thing. I normally have one sitting here, and here we go. And of course it's broke, but once rubber bands are stretched, they don't go back to their original size. And your brain does the same thing on this stuff. You can sit and watch, the Back to the Future movies for the 8th time, or you can, sit and watch a documentary. And that really is the situation that we're in with time, Tom, and that is people put themselves in prisons with open doors. Exactly. You have a choice. You don't have to sit there and binge watch, Stranger Things. You can go and read a book. You can, watch something, positive, or heck, you can just break aside from all that stuff and take a walk, and just listen to the birds and it, just through, I don't know what that's called, but when you're doing a mundane task like showering, or sometimes oddly enough, even driving, there's a part of your brain that gets like triggered, and it just starts figuring stuff out. It's really when you need to have some sort of a voice activated, hey Siri, put this down, for me in a note or a text, because it's when you're doing that stuff that is, away from, all the things we mentioned, just going out and walking around and just literally just, at a normal pace. And all of a sudden your brain just starts, churning out info. It starts almost, decoding the stuff that, has given you problems through the week or month. And you'll leave with epiphanies, after those things. So, like I said, it's a prison with an open door. It's just, unfortunately, people just look at the door and they think, oh, yeah, that's not for me.
There's a true story about that a prison would, they bring all the prisoners, close the door. They never locked the doors. They never tried to get out.
Yeah.
They just assumed that the door was locked.
Yeah.
But I recognize the things I want to do in my life and make it, within my vision and my purpose, is I recognize my television was a distraction. 6 years ago, almost 7 years ago, I unplugged. I have no television in my house. People look at me like I got 3 heads. Well, where do you get your entertainment? Well, I got a wife, and we go for walks, and we go to music venues, and I read a lot. I write a lot. I love helping people. That's where my enjoyment comes. I'm not numbing the world, and that's where a lot of people get lost. And I think what you were saying, get out and walk. Things will come to you. That I believe in this one concept: be still and know. Most people cannot get quiet to let the thinking start working and get a new level of awareness. Sometimes, and that's some people, that's meditation. It's just it's a state of controlling your thinking, and just be quiet. Turn off the radio, turn off the news, turn off those things, and just, you can do it in 2 minutes. You just learn how to be still and know. And guess what? Like you said, your mind just starts generating a new picture, basically.
And I don't know what it's called, Tom, but there is something much smarter than I'm able to explain that happens when you're in a state of like mundane action. It just all of a sudden clicks in, and things start going into like hyperdrive.
Yeah. So in your business that you're doing now, who do you work with? What type of service do you provide? What anybody that's out there has a business, maybe looking to get in business, what should they be doing? Share with you what you do. And everybody gets hung up on all the different marketing. You got to be doing this. What would be your recommendation to get somebody that's starting and it has no real plan? They got a great talent, but they're not efficient in their business. Just share with your thoughts and what you do. And
well, the biggest thing, Tom, is you have to start. If you wait until it's perfect, you'll never do it. It doesn't matter if it's kids, buying a house, starting a business, and all those things have got that throw the parachute out and then jump down after it. Because if you don't, you just won't ever do it. So the very first thing is start. And when you do it, you need to start with the idea that, okay, I'm going to do this sometime. Okay. And then you get good enough to where sometime goes into part-time. And then when part-time is achieved, there might be, the next level being full-time. But the thing that you need to think about with this, and not you, Tom, just everybody listening and watching, when you are in a plane as a pilot, you put in that destination and you put it into a computer, and it does have an A to B. There's no doubt about that. But if you were to call it 1 to 2, there would be 1.01, 1.02, all the way through. And there would be 100 to thousands of different little adjustments that have to be made on that trip by you and the computer. It doesn't just happen, so those sometime, part-time, full-time has got, it sounds like 3 steps, but it's really, lots of different steps in between. But what happens is by not leaving a job, if you're currently doing a job, and doing that hustling that you hear, that dreaded H word, but you go through and just hustle in whatever time that you can give it. And that's at some time. And then hopefully you're able to go from maybe that job to, just maybe a part-time job, and do that, your hustle part-time and that part-time. And then at some point it's going to get where you be silly to not just do your hustle. And then it goes from being a hustle to being a career. And then you move from that sometime, part-time, and that full-time. But again, please know that, Tom, I'm glad you said 30 years. I tell the kids, all the time, yeah, Dad works at home. He's got his toys. I constantly am doing something. Not very many professionals have got a stuffed llama, at their desk. I do. I have fun because that's the pirate ship that I want to be on. Right. But it didn't start like that. I had to work for people. I had, bosses that threw hammers at me. I've been fired. I've been, promoted, and everything in between. But, every one of those were building someone else's dream, and so it didn't matter if I did great or if I didn't do great. It was building their dream, not mine. So if you have that feeling in your pit of your stomach where you're like, I know I'm meant for more than I'm demonstrating, then what you got to do is, like Tom and I said, you have to, whether it's the TV, the bowling league, your fantasy sports, your binge watching, whatever it is that you're doing that's not building your dream, just go out there and try it. And you'd be amazed, at that 4 or 5 hours you string together, and then 10 hours, and then 15 hours. And next thing you know, you're doing something that is a hammer thrown is a very serious statement. and that was my boss, Robert. That wasn't even like a coworker, and he was trying to hit me. I was just faster. So, yeah, it's just so important to just get started, and then know that your success, Tom and I, very fairly are 30-year overnight successes. And the thing is the blocking and tackling and scuffed knees and busted elbows that I got along the way. I tell people, don't let the smile fool you. There were some frowns in there,
Yeah.
but I'm one of those people that I know that, you'll never hear me say, that I'm demonstrating what I'm capable of, because I know that no matter where I get to, I'm always, have an opportunity to get better. So, but you do have to, like I said, not to sound corny and keep doing a callback to it. You have to get started. If you don't get started, you'll stay exactly where you are and probably go backwards, because there's just really no success at mediocrity.
Yeah, you got to make a decision.
Yeah.
And and then start. And what you're sharing is so important for people to hear. Many times we see people with success and we think they're more gifted, they're good looking, better look. So you're better looking than me, so that's why you're more successful than me. We go through all this mental stuff that is wrong thinking. We try to compare. Don't compare your dream, your vision, and purpose with somebody else's.
Stinking thinking is what Zig would have called it.
Yeah. Identify what's important to you, and don't worry about what other people think.
Can I tell you about one other mentor and influencer?
Sure.
His name is John Addison, and John
Oh,
Addison,
yeah.
John's amazing, and he says that he loves the word decide, and the reason he loves the word decide is because it ends in "ide," and "ide" means the death of something. So pesticide, suicide, homicide, genocide, they all end in side. So he said that when you decide, it is the death of all other options. So you're not giving yourself any exit. There's no parachute. You have to land the plane, and so that to decide is the death of all other options. And so that's what I would tell people to do, Tom, is to decide, back yourself into the corner. And Mike Tyson used to think about people hurting his mom, when he'd fight, and the person he was fighting was doing it, which would make him want to, smash their face. So you have to get in that mindset, that corner, and I'm going to fight, not flight, because I don't have a choice. I have to fight, and you get in that decide moment, man, that's where magic happens. When people aren't hungry, they don't do what they're supposed to do. Things get mananaed. When you're hungry, you don't wait till manana. Your stomach is like knocking, like I'm here now. No manana. And so, I think that backed into a corner feeling, as much as it sucks, that and mistakes will be your best lesson ever. When you're hungry or make a mistake, and really put yourself in the lurch with it, those two things, whew, man, I mean, you're talking about lightning in a bottle. If it sucks to get those two things, but man, they will light a fire under you.
You mentioned John Addison. How do you know of John Addison?
I come about John Addison and Dr. Monroe and a lot of other greats through prepaid legal.
Okay.
Yeah.
I believe John Addison was in the early days with Art Williams.
He was Primerica and all that. Yeah. Art and he was.
Yeah, I met John years and years ago when he was a national director of sales. So yeah, he's a great guy.
Great guy, and almost died. He had the same thing in his heart that John Ritter, the actor, died of in his brain. He used to say, I'm gonna act as if every day is my last, and one of these days I'll be right. And he said, and that day he thought he was going to be right. So, but he just got lucky. So he's still with us.
Well, I tell you what, we can talk about all these things that have influenced us and other people for hours and hours and hours. But I appreciate you coming on tonight, and we didn't ever really get to what you do. You know,
You'll have to have me on again. I'm going to tell you guys something. I've been on this show before. As a matter of fact, I may have been on twice, but for sure once. And Tom didn't even remember. Oh man,
it comes with the age, my friend.
I'm going to cry. I'm just kidding.
But in closing here, what would be the one thing that you think really holds people back? And usually the most common one is fear. And so what would be say that keeps people from living their life at their fullest potential? It doesn't have to be business, but what's the one thing that you would, or two things that you might want to recommend out there?
It's their butt, their B-U-T-T and their B-U-T. But I don't have enough time, but I don't have enough money, but that is the thing that they need to stop doing, and they need to get off of. Both will help you. You have to get up and dress up and show up and all that that you hear. And if you don't, then you're going to be shining the shoes of the people that do. And that is not where you want to be. There's always somebody out there, either figuratively or literally, that trying to take you out. That they want your job, they want your clients, they want to do what you do, and they're going to stand on the shoulder of giants, to do that. So if you are the best in your group, you think, oh, I can't be touched. You so can, I mean, you don't use Kodak film anymore, Kodak cameras. You don't, there's just so many things that have been interrupted, in this industry. And so I think that you have to get off your butt, like I said, both versions.
Yeah, I totally agree. That's great advice. People can reach out to you at weswyatt.live.
Yes.
And,
or .com. They both go to the same place. And, without telling you all the different things on that page, the bottom of the right side on either a computer, a tablet, or a phone is a little smiling thought bubble. And if you contact me through there, I don't monitor it live, but I will get back to you extremely timely. And then all the different social media and ways to contact me are on that page as well.
Okay. Well, wonderful. I'm glad you came in tonight, and you're doing a wonderful job. I love your messages when I can catch in between some of the things I do during the day, and just encourage people out there to stay plugged in. Find those that are out there that you resonate with that are doing it. I call that doing it. They're not giving hype. There's so many people out there that unfortunately talk a good game, but they're not walking it. And I know that's not the case with the group you guys hang with. And that's what draws me to you guys is you're doers. And so I appreciate who you are and why you do what you do. So,
well, I appreciate you and Mark. I wish he were here, but I know he's out having fun and didn't want to be here with me. So yet another thing I'll cry about here. I'll just work that for Mark being mean, but no, I feel the same way, Tom. I'm glad to have other people like you and Mark and Randy and Eric and all the above mentioned people that do the stuff that we do, and you guys keep my butt to the fire, so I'm glad to know you.
Yeah, you said Randy Chafee. I remember seeing his very first Facebook lives, walking down a path to a creek, and I didn't know anything about Randy or nothing, but every time I'd see him, I'd want to watch and listen to him. And today he's doing all his different So you see a transformation from probably, if we had a good conversation, that probably was not a comfortable thing to do, going from old school type stuff. Now I got to deal with technology and this Facebook thing and going live. But he is man, has he grown in a.
And that was a jump situation too, Tom. He wanted to do a live, and I gave him a date, and we got kind of close to it. And he said, "Well, how about we, bump it to a couple weeks after that?" And I said, "No, we're going to go live the day we said." And he's like, "Well, what if I'm not ready?" I said, "Do you want me ready? That's just how it's going to be. We're going to go live." So and he did. And here's the thing, you wouldn't have known, that he was worried, that he was scared. And, he said, "How was that?" And I said, "It was great." And it wouldn't have mattered if it wasn't. The things that used to make a difference, Tom. I'm sorry, I'm keeping you a little longer than normal.
No, it's fine. No problem. We'll go as long as we need to, whatever.
Yeah. So, you have this situation where the COVID situation happened. And when it did, it caused everybody to flip the script. It used to be they couldn't put stuff at home because they said there were proprietary systems and things like that just wouldn't allow it. But then when COVID happened, all of a sudden they found ways. It's kind of like life finds a way with Jurassic Park. But they get everybody used to working at home. And now when you hear a doorbell or a dog or a little boy or girl walks in the room, or, you stand up and you forget you're not wearing pants and you're wearing boxers, or, whatever's happening, that normally wouldn't be would have got you in trouble or fired or a numerous, whatever, everything in between. Now it's commonplace. So, if Randy's, notes that he has for the call are slowly creeping in front of the camera, or he goes and talks for 5 minutes and doesn't realize he's muted himself, or whatever the case may be, the beauty of it is that people watch that and they know this isn't scripted. He's not got somebody that says take two. You're seeing the real Randy. So it doesn't matter if you're stuttering at the beginning, which, by the way, I stutter too. So, it's just one of those things that I think the vulnerability of doing this stuff live and having, my voice is starting to crack, for example, you mentioned somebody on the call, and that they're really there, that it's not some canned response. All that kind of stuff, it lets people know, hey, I like this person. They're like me. I make mistakes. I drop my coffee while I'm in the middle of a broadcast, or all the different things that you would think would be a taboo thing. They're not anymore. So I told Randy, I said, if this is the worst one, then we only got, up, to worry about. But by the way, it wasn't bad. I've had people that get on, and I mean, it's like that light goes off and it's not really a light. I mean, it's just basically a countdown, but I mean, all of a sudden it's deer in the headlight, and they wouldn't know what to say if you squeezed them, so I know that it does happen, but it didn't happen with Randy.
Yeah. So I just wanted to compliment him. He's one of my favorite people out there. Both you guys and that whole group that's associated. Appreciate you supporting Mark and I, and we're here to support you and just bringing a different level of awareness and just seeing that, be successful in life. It's just show up and be yourself, be authentic, be truthful, and everything else falls in line. The universe, or I call law, will always deliver the results you're seeking if you're coming from a place of law or a place of truth. So I appreciate you much coming on tonight. Thanks much. I'm going to put you in the back room and enjoy those M&Ms that I left you, so.
Okay.
Hang tight, my friend. What's that?
I said, is that a fat joke?
Well, no, I can't say that. Look at me. I want me to stand up. There we go. Have a good one. Hold tight. There we go. Elevate your profits. That's what we're about. Just bringing people in like Wes and just chatting and talking. And you'll see that what he was sharing are those principles of success. There's a common thread when you talk to people that are working for a reason, a purpose, and a passion. You'll start seeing it, and that's what if you're going to go into business, you'll find your why, find your purpose, find your vision, or as Art Williams says, find that crusade, that thing that you would die for to have that in your life. So I appreciate Wes coming on tonight. His contact information is scrolling here. And again, elevate your profit. It starts with how you think, and it'll take you to the assets you're seeking, to the bank. Have a great day, everybody.